Hey everyone, I'm Madilynn Dale, the Chapter Goddess. I'm a mom, author, blogger, freelancer, host, and overall creative. I really like to sit down and chat with authors and other creatives to hear what they add to the creative world in general. How do they bring their authentic selves to life in what they do? Our authenticity is important, especially in the world today. So sit back and relax and grab a cup of coffee, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's meet this episode's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Book Chat. I have another fantastic guest on the show today, and we're going to be chatting about his book and his work. Before we get started, I do want to mention that I have a bunch of books out there, guys. I'm a fantasy author myself, and you can check that out at my website, thechaptergoddess.com. I have a new book that's going to be dropping in January, the long-awaited second book in the Amber trilogy, Blue Flames, will be dropping in January, so make sure you check that out. But let me bring in this amazing author for you guys to meet.
Madilynn, hi. Good morning.
Hey! So go ahead and introduce yourself and tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, well, first off, good to see you. Thank you for that great introduction. I am Nathan Rudolph, or my author name is N.M. Rudolph. And then my most recent book is called Meadowvale. I don't know if you guys have read Brian Jacques' series called Red Wall, but I grew up reading that, and so I loved talking animals, battle, adventures, and things like that. So I was inspired to write my first novel. A slight difference between his and my work is I threw in magic. He always has like cool riddles and like these sort of magical undertones, but I was like, I'm just going full force because I love that. I could talk forever. I don't want to. Yeah.
No, go for it. Tell us more. Because talking animals, magic, that is right up my fantasy alley. So tell me more about it.
Yeah. It's not like Watership Down, if you've read that, because Watership Down is talking animals, but it's like very natural setting. Mm-hmm. So veer away from that. The next thing, probably the next closest thing is C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh,
kind of stuff.
See, that one, okay, I haven't read that, but I watched the movies because I did not know it was an actual book back in the day when it came out.
7 books.
Yeah. That's awesome, though, because the animals in that, I love them. And that's really cool because that also drew me in with your cover because you have them on the cover. I was like, okay, what is this? Let's check it out.
Yeah, I started with rabbits. Brian Jacques novels start with mice. Those the main guys. I don't know. I like rabbits for some reason. And then I have it here next to me as I'm just sort of glancing and recalling. I had fun with it. I wanted to keep it simple in the sense that it was good guys, bad guys, battle, peril. So I've worked hard and I think I did a fine job, but I wasn't trying to get into anything really nuanced or really elaborate. So they're good guys, bad guys, adventure. Some people get captured, and then half of the book is the people left over, how do we go save our families? And the other half of the book is watching those captives and how they survive in the lizard lair, the lizard empire, because the lizards are basically the bad guys.
Yeah. I
do have a couple crossovers in the sense that one lizard is doubting his choices and he's like, maybe bad isn't the best idea. There are a couple rabbits that are I don't, we're weak. We should be bad.
Ooh.
But for the most part, it's distinct. I kind of stereotypical. Here are the good guys. Here are the bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like an easy, fantasy story to get lost in. You pick it up, on a stressful day, just pick it up and you just dive in and just takes you away then.
I think so. I would hope so.
Yeah.
I've gotten some good feedback from friends and a couple reviews, and I'm encouraged by the book itself and the feedback. And I think it's a wonderful tale. I mean, every now and then when I go reading through it, I don't know if you've had this experience, but you're going and you're editing your book and you're marking things down, and then you kind of you forget about the red pen. You're like, this is pretty good.
Yes, and then you have to stop yourself and go back. Like, where did I stop editing? Like,
Yeah.
that happens every time, and I'm like, crap! I was supposed to be in editing mode, not reading mode, because I'm one of
Yeah.
those like I will like just start reading, and if I get pulled in, I don't see the words anymore, and that's totally
Mhm.
not good when you're editing.
But that's a good sign for your
Yeah,
work.
that's true. And you mentioned that you had a lot of fun writing this. What was your favorite thing about creating the story?
I think so. I don't know. Am I allowed to, I guess, can I give spoilers? Is that allowed?
Yeah.
It's
I
not
mean,
too
you're given the
severe.
spoiler warning, so
Yeah.
like.
All right. Spoiler warning. Click on me if you want. In the story, so it starts off in Meadowvale. That's
Mhm,
a village. And they have, a lot of farmers and various craftsmen. It's sort of very, sort of medieval-ish theme,
mhm.
flavor, whatever. But they realize that they can't go save their families themselves. And so they take they being a bunch of villagers, they take this long trip around like the rabbit region, collecting the other villages. And I styled some of the villages after like different things I've seen. So one of the villages is called Lauderton.
Mhm.
And I basically styled them after Spartan warriors. They have
Ooh.
spears, they have discipline, they have lineup, they have shields, they have ferocity. They don't mess around. And one of the villages called Bringstal. The people joke about them. They're just the rabbits from Bringstal. What people call them the Bringstal barbarians
Oh.
because and they're good. They are
Mhm.
good people, but they're wild and they wield battle axes. And I fashioned them after like stereotypical, whether it's books, movies, or video games. You always have a barbarian out there somewhere who's just
Yeah.
like swinging an axe around, hacking things. So, I mean, I would love to, I don't know, I would love to ramble about each village, but the story I'm trying to say is I had a lot of fun being like, yeah, this is this persona. They're sort of like this
Yeah.
stereotype. And I had a lot of fun doing
And it
that.
sounds like you put a lot of thought into the world building too. Like, did you have to research anything into that, or did you just pull from experience, like from what you've read over the years?
Yeah. Uh, Mostly the latter, mostly just experiences and things I read. I really, so there, I don't know if you've seen the movie 300.
I have. I have.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's pretty epic, but that's like, that's based on real events. And then there's a
Yeah.
book, which is historical fiction, but it's a lot closer to the real stuff, talking
Yeah.
about what it's like to grow up as a Spartan child.
Mhm.
And then it was actually really messy. It's a really gruesome book
Yeah,
because
it
of
is.
how historically accurate it is. But I love their intensity. I love their fearlessness. And so that like influenced some of my characters, including
Yay.
Lauderton. And then I don't know, I've grown up reading mostly fiction novels, but I do like some history and I've watched movies and I've dreamt up things. I mean, it's been in my heart forever. And so I've long envisioned like what would it be like to have this kind of vibe.
Yeah. So I have to ask now, when you got that first physical copy of your book in your hand, what was your like where was your emotions? Like what was that like?
Yeah, it had been a lot of work up to that point. And so to help me get through it, I was like, all right, I'm going to stop pretending it's never going to happen. I'm also going to stop pretending like it's the most easy, magical thing ever. It's just like now it's a job. But when I first got the first proof copy, it hit me that this is going to be a thing. This is real. This is like I have begun. Like,
Yay.
and I'm going to show it off again because I love it so much.
Yeah, no, it's got
The
an awesome cover.
Yeah, I found so the first copy. I don't know if I have it. Do I? Nope. I picked some random like free stock photo with a sword,
Yeah.
splattered it on there, and so that I could have something that looked like a book. But even getting that was like, this is my book. This is I've begun. I'm a published author almost.
Yeah.
It was really
When you were
satisfying.
like, ooh. We all go through that. I feel it. Well, I say we all. Majority of us go through the cover thing because, like, my first cover for. Let's see if I can lean this way. Oh, my chair's in the way. There's a box set behind me on the
Black Flames.
way. Yeah. So not Black Flames, but like over here, this green box set.
Oh, we got to lean the other way.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so the first book in
I see
that
it.
series was the first book I published. And the cover image I did for that was something I took a picture, like literally a picture I took of the mountains in Colorado. And I was like, oh yeah, this will work. And it did not. No, it didn't fit it. As I learned more, like on my journey into the author world, which honestly hasn't been that long, but like you pick up so many things once you publish that first book. You're just like, it's like you're a sponge, and then it's all here. You're going to take this and this and this and just throw it at you.
Can I ramble a little bit?
Oh yeah,
I'm not ramble, but like, so this is the first thing I ever published.
Oh yay! I actually like that. That's really good.
Thanks. I didn't illustrate it, but first thing I published, and then that was like painful. That was so painful. And I, in the midst of it, so a friend of mine was illustrating, and she was trying to encourage me through the process of like, Nathan, just print another proof copy. Like, we want to do a really good job. I'm like, no, I hate everything. I'm done with Everett.
Yeah.
But then after that, I was like, okay, it's possible. So I made this book, Unhinged.
I like that cover. It was cute. The little flower holding the knife.
I actually illustrated it.
Did you really?
I did.
That is so cool.
But the reason I wanted to share that book is that was like fun, but it was mostly practicing the publishing process of like, okay, now it's possible. Instead of getting myself stressed out, let me get like a rhythm of how to put all the pieces in place.
That's a good idea, actually. Just
and so since
work through it.
Yeah, you were describing how like you pick so many things up as you go, and I'm like, this book was basically like a publishing learning experience.
Yes, nice. So what was the biggest thing you learned then from like beginning to now?
I want to say that it's only tedium. Because I used to think that publishing was impossible. And then I thought it was just miserably painful and like it's like too many things and I don't know how to keep track of it all. And now the thing I keep repeating, like the mantra I have is it's just tedious. It's just painfully tedious. Meaning it can be done. It can be done well. It just got to keep whatever it is, whether it's fixing margins or shifting the photo image around, or I mean, now marketing is its own painful process.
Oh gosh, marketing. That's like everybody's dreaded thing as an author. It's like, oh no, we're going into the marketing conversation. Like, what? Let's just somebody do it for me and call it good. But that requires money. A lot of authors don't have.
Not yet. We're working on it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. A constant work in progress towards that. Then the market's always changing too. So like here, we're going to throw another loop at you.
But people still buy books, it seems, which is encouraging.
Yeah. Let's talk more about your main character. So tell me more about them.
So originally, the main character was supposed to be Wearable, a young boy, about 10 years old when the story starts. It focuses mostly on his family, the Highfallows. But as the story unfolded, his sister became very prominent. Another spoiler, just warning. The book ends, so Allison is his sister, and she was captured with him. She meets this lizard who's basically like a dusty old scientist, where he's not violent enough for the other lizards. So sort of like, you're a high rank, you're like, so we can't really get rid of you, but just go in a corner and read books or something. So he meets Allison, who's got this really soft heart but strong will. And he's like, hey, I'm going to experiment on you. It's not quite as gruesome as it sounds. Like he's not like prodding her, but he's like, hey, let's explore magic. Because I have these magic books. I can't do magic for whatever reason, even though I've tried. But you seem kind of to have a magical personality. So like, let's see what's going on there. And she discovers that she like can channel this power. But she doesn't like it.
Yeah.
She doesn't know how to control it. And at the end of the book, she's basically talking with her brother about saying, you know, I want to set off. I think I got to go figure out what the heck's going on with me, basically.
Yeah.
So main characters. Wearable is this great young boy who like starts off as he's trying hard. He's just a kid. His dad's like, hey, let's like start growing up a little bit, and then boom, he's thrown into this dungeon, and he's like, I hate my life. I hate everything. This is terrible. And then he kind of slowly matures into, okay, like, wow, I'm edgy and I'm angry, but maybe I don't need to hate everyone forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's cool. He's got a lot of great potential. He's in book 2. Oh my goodness. More spoilers. I'll tell you. More spoilers. So in book 2, it's going to focus on Allison.
Yeah.
She's going to go figure out what the heck is going on inside of her, because she has discovered these powers and she's like unusually powerful accidentally. And it explains it somewhat in the book, but one's sort of heart strength and vulnerability enhances one's magical abilities. It's a little bit more defined than that. So like partially it overlaps with stereotypical old-fashioned spells where you write a poem and it kind of works.
Yeah.
Maddie, I could talk forever. I'm trying to like I'm already
You're good. No, I'm like just soaking it in. I'm loving it because this is like you're selling me on this book for sure. Like, and that's good because it's gonna sell it to the viewers too.
Thank you.
So like, yeah.
The magic. What's hinted at in the book is that these what they call the ancients or the old ones, kind of stereotypical, but it leaves like there's a lot of room for building on that. The old ones would speak. They were like druids. They would speak with nature.
Yeah.
In this old language. And nature sort of grew familiar, comfortable, safe with these old ones. And so then they would respond. And so now this old language, whenever anybody speaks it in this story, like nature remembers, nature responds. Like, oh, okay. And so you can like ask for, in a certain sense, you can talk about. It's not quite sentient. It's not like I'm talking to a tree and the tree is like, okay, cool, here we go.
Yeah.
But there's something.
Like it responds in its own way kind of thing. Yeah. Kind of more like a spiritual thing.
Yeah, like an ancient memory, spiritual thingy. But so that's how it like, that's the foundation is, it is language. It is a language. It is words. Ooh. And another random thing I threw in there is in a lot of books and movies and stories, they have these rhymes to summon spells. It's like bubble, bubble, toil and trouble.
Yeah.
Cauldron brew and ancient something bubble. And it's like, okay, why do they do that? And in my book, it's real brief, but I had this one scene where a guy's like saying, let's learn how this language, like, let's learn some basic spells. And one guy's like, but how do we remember? Because I can barely get by speaking English.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, well, one of the easiest ways to remember something is with rhymes. I was like throwing that little, like, this is why they always rhyme. It's to remember, just to remember the spells.
That's a good thought.
So that whole side trail to talk about how Allison is going to explore that whole mess, and Wearable probably maybe alongside her in book 2, maybe in book 3, but he's going to grow into like a super badass warrior.
Nice.
Oh my goodness, I could spoil more things.
Yes, we'll try to hold off though. But tell me about their family, because you mentioned they're kind of like they're the fallow, right?
High fallows.
Okay. So how did you distinguish, like, what was your thought process putting them in that kind of level of the world? Yes, does that make sense?
Can you rephrase that?
Kind of putting them in, like, choosing them to be where they are with that family and their status. There we go. Status is the word I was trying to get.
So originally inspired by Brian Jacques' Redwall series. In other words, there's like no technology. It's not exactly medieval. Like there's no castles, there's no king, but there's just this sort of, I don't know what time period that is, where it's swords and farmers and blacksmiths and stuff like that. So that's where I started with them. And then when I very, very originally started the book, it just kind of pulled it out of thin air, this particular family and their particular lives, which they're farmers.
Yeah. And
I thought that was just a sort of healthy, simple starting place to begin approaching all this. Is that what you were asking? Kind of what
their backstory kind of was on that. Yeah. And so their life living and growing up as farmers with their family, does that influence some of the choices they make in the journey they take? Sorry,
so,
tough
yeah,
question.
it's just a good nuanced question. One of the things, yeah, again, another sort of the string of spoilers. Wearable is a young boy, and so Meadowvale's village, their sort of cool skill is they're swordsmen. They're really good with the sword.
Yeah.
So like Bringstall, they're wild and they have axes most of the time. Lauderton, they have spears, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Meadowvale, they're good with swords. But because of how like time has unfolded and there's like less battle and they just sort of like most men, women, most people have put their swords away. But Wearable is having some clashes with his older brother. And he makes him like he's also kind of mean to his little brother. So Wearable is like having this struggling time of growth, and his dad's like, "Hey, all right, you know what? Like we got to talk." And Wearable's like scared he's going to get spanked or something. He doesn't know, and then his dad's like, "Hey, I think we should probably start teaching you with a sword." And Wearable's like, "What? What do you mean? You have a sword? What are you talking about?" And his dad's like, "Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I train early in the mornings before you wake up, you lazy bum. But but I think it'd be good, like just to like help you redirect your energy."
Yeah.
And Werble's like, "Super cool. I'm going to wield a sword." And then Dad's like, "Cool, all right. But I think first we got to start you with farming." And Werble's like, "What? How dare you? You can promise like tell me about a sword, and then you're going to send me farming." And then his dad's like, "Fine, screw it. We're not even going to do anything." He's like, "No, I'm sorry." So that is where it starts. But then as it unfolds, Werble discovers that farming is good not only for just self-discipline, but it makes him strong.
Yeah.
So this is carrying through. Trying to answer your question.
Yeah, no, you're doing great.
So he starts farming, develops self-discipline, becomes simply more muscular.
Mm-hmm.
Then soon after, he starts training with a sword, so he becomes agile. And then once he gets captured and pulled into this dungeon, usually the lizards are just like, I don't know, just go mine because they have this special mineral that they're trying to amass.
Mm-hmm.
Most captives are sent off to mine. But one of my favorite guys, probably my most favorite, his nickname is the Slaver. His lizard name is, just hear me out, it's Charatka.
Whoa.
He's a sociopath.
Ooh.
And he's like, one of his specific fascinations is in trying to create slave soldiers.
Ooh.
So they're all slaves just out to mine this special mineral. Mm-hmm. But every now and then he'll watch these training grounds, these little like sparring sessions to see if he can find anybody that's like, yes, I like this. And he saw Wearable, who, because of being kind of attitudinal, but also being just a hardworking farming sword fighting boy, mm-hmm. he was tough and he was like almost fearless. So the slave was like, you're going to be my new project.
Ooh.
And so it's because of Werble's background as a farmer, being just strong and tough, that he was noticed by the slaver.
That made him unique. Nice. And that name, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can say that, like repeat that name. How did you come up with that name?
Yeah. So the rabbits have kind of generic names. I tried to shift them a little bit. Like Wearable, nobody has the name Wearable, but it's like it's a name.
Yeah, and it makes sense.
Yeah. Allison is an obvious name. The mm-hmm. mother's name is Mary. The dad's name, so I have a brother named Jared. Mm-hmm. And I was like, let me shift a letter or two since the dad's name is Jalek, J-N-L-E-K. And then I had sort of like started with Brian, and I turned that into Brind. Mm-hmm. There's a little boy named Jesse. Aww. So a bunch of the names are normal American names, and then a lot of them are just like shifted just a bit, like a letter here or there. Mm-hmm. So boom, that's the rabbits. But then the lizards, I wanted them to feel foreign, feel weird. So I thought to myself, what sounds do lizards make? And how do I turn that into names or words? And so almost all the lizards have a lot of S sounds, like a long S sounds or long trilling R sounds. Like I wanted some of that in there. So Yeah, and then I just kind of like unfolded it, and some of them were a little too. I don't know. I've debated with myself. I mean, now it's in print, so too late. But I've debated with myself and if the names are too similar. So there's Sharatka, the slaver. There's Raktotraka, that's the librarian.
Yeah.
And then the emperor, the big baddie guy, is Rasikichakachr.
Whoa. But that's so cool how you did that with the names. Like you did stick with it, kind of like how a lizard would actually make the noises. And that's fascinating because not a lot of authors put that much thought into the names.
Yeah.
So that's like a unique little attribute there that you added in. So overall, how long did it take you from start to finish to write this book?
20 years, maybe. So I started it in like middle school.
Yeah.
I'm 35. Middle school is even longer than 20 years ago. I started in middle school. I had this quaint idea, and then like it sat on my computer for years. And so, I mean, think about like how like it was like pinging it every few years, and then as the years passed on, I was like, okay, let me spend more and more time and more attention on this thing. And it was in the past maybe 3 years where I was like, okay, you know what? Now I'm really committing to this. Because so from 3 years ago and then behind, it was like this quaint project that was just cute in there. And then 3-ish years ago, I was like, okay, I like this one. I'm going to do it. I have to go back now and revamp everything because I started it in middle school.
Yeah.
But I really liked it enough to say it's going to happen.
Nice. So when you really got serious about it, did you pick up like a writing schedule that you would stick with?
Yeah. So, yeah. In one season, so I had a job where I worked Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. And so Wednesday was my writing day. And then various jobs, various seasons of life, various moves and things like that. Skipping most of those, there was another season where I said, okay, I'm going to write in the morning. And so most of my responsibilities were in the evening or afternoon, and I could devote the morning to writing. Did
you find your creativity worked better at a certain time of day during that process?
I often pretend to myself that it's better in the evening. But I really think it's better when I'm just being diligent.
Yeah. I have to agree with that. Yeah. You gotta push yourself to get it done just a little bit.
If I sit down to write, I'm sitting down to write for 2 hours, let's say. The first hour I might write 100 words, and the second hour I might write 1,000 words.
Oh, wow.
Because, and this is the thing that I've noticed, and this is why I'm like, Nathan, you're not necessarily more creative at night or whatever. It's just when you sit down and do it, you have to get through this huge pile of angst every time. So once I'm through the angst, whether it's in the morning or the evening, whatever it is, then it works.
Yeah, it just kind of starts flowing. It's like you start and it just doesn't stop, and here it goes, the words. Something I like to ask authors when I chat with them is, what do you do for self-care? Like with the world being crazy and everything, I feel like it keeps getting worse. Like, do you have a self-care method that you keep, or like certain self-care like routines that you do to help keep your sanity and creative brain and juices flowing?
I mean, I think I'm not the only one who's done this. I have written out most of my problems. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make another plug, if I may.
Yeah.
Boom. This one's not yet out. Michael the Traveler. And also this cover will not be the main cover.
Yeah, it's just like a placeholder.
Michael the Traveler. I'm going to start him a couple years ago. And originally it was just an exercise in like, I'm too angsty. I keep on stalling myself. I just need to like be free in my writing. After doing that, I had written maybe 30,000 words of just raw freedom. I thought to myself, wow, maybe I guess this is a book now. what happened inside of that is whatever was going on in my life, whether I was in a good mood and I wrote some chapter about like magical flowers floating around. That's the worst. Or there was one chapter. It's not worth telling right now what was going on inside my brain, but there's one chapter where I decided. So actually, interrupt myself. This book is trippy. Michael the Traveler, there's this boy, he travels to different worlds. Well, first he has these vivid dreams, and he's like, wow, these are creepy dreams. But then he realizes he's literally traveling. And it's just like, it's sort of multiverse-ish. It's great. It's trippy, but somehow it's cohesive. And there's one chapter where I was feeling a severe weight about, I was really concerned. That's its own long story. But that chapter saw Michael, he was in a dark gray world where his heart, like there's a hole in his chest and he was just pumping out streams of blood. That sounds gruesome, but that's how I pulled out that experience of my life. So all that to say, you say self-care, and like all of my books are just me trying to keep myself sane by like, here's this intense feeling, or here's this intense thought, or here's this personality, this like personality trait that I don't want to express in real life. So I'll make a guy named Charatka and he can just go murder random people. Not literally random, but almost.
I mean, it's a good cathartic thing. I journal, which I haven't as much the last like week, but I love that you kind of turned that into like a way to share your thoughts in that book by publishing it and stuff. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
and I self-care. Sorry, what'd you say?
This is a great form of self-care.
Yeah. Yeah. There are others, but it's one of the biggest. And it's not, I try not to be like, oh, I'm angsty today and let me type about being angsty. I'm trying to like, all right, let me like summon that energy and then I'll turn it into a story. I try hard.
Yeah, that is amazing. I actually am probably going to pick up that tip from you and do that myself instead of writing about my emotions, because it makes it easier to channel. I feel like if you put that into story like you do. So
yeah, I would recommend that to anybody, and I guess to you is vulnerability in writing has like that's been my self-care, is like I'm feeling this thing, I don't know what to do with it, I don't know how to feel about it, and I'm like, well, let me turn it into a story, because it's a little safer, because I'm not saying, hey, I feel this shitty thing, now it's really obvious and in front of people, but I can be like, okay, there's this character who's feeling something similar, and he's in space, or he has a dragon or something.
Yeah,
and it takes it away just a little bit, but I still get to.
Do you feel like that kind of came through your story, through with Warble and everybody? Like you had some of that come through? And the reason I asked that is because I caught myself channeling my, like, what I was feeling and stuff into my main character, Ember. And I was just like, holy crap, what? Where did this come from? And it just kind of like made me pause. Like, is this really like what's going on in my head right now?
Oh, yeah. 100%. I mean, so this is years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
So I've written lots of little, not even short stories, like flash fiction.
Yeah.
So to answer your question about Madilynn, but I'll get to that.
You're good.
Flash fiction, just as like, but I call them sketches.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I can't work on my project right now. I just need to make up something though. Years ago, I was skimming through my sketches and I was like, oh, let me organize these or format these or whatever. And I'm like, what? Why are all my random fictional characters trapped somehow? Like there's one guy, he was trapped in a magical world. There was one guy that was like trapped in a military jail. There's one guy that was trapped in a digital, like sort of Matrix digital life. All of my characters were trapped. And I thought to myself, well, I guess I feel trapped in my life.
Oh.
So after that, pretty soon after that, I said to myself, I'm doing it. I'm going to commit to it. Whatever I'm feeling is going in. And so like, I don't know how other people write, but almost all of my characters across all of my books are me.
Nice. Or some version of you, right?
Yeah. Some facet. Or it's like, this is one of my emotions and I'll just turn this emotion into a whole character. Yes.
That is honestly, I think I do that too. That's a great question though for like other authors. I'm going to have to it's going to be one to keep and ask.
Yeah. Thank you. for asking to me.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. And then sometimes I'll recognize it and say, oh, cool, I'm doing this on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll read afterwards and I'm like, oh yeah, yep, that's how I am in this season of my life.
Awesome. So we have reached the end of our time. So go ahead and tell our viewers and listeners where they can find you on social media and your work as well.
Yeah. A lot of places. My website is nmrudolph.com, just like nathanmarkrudolph.com, nmrudolph. You can find me on Instagram at n.m.rudolph. Amazon, if you go to my website, you'll get the link straight to Amazon. But if you look on Amazon, you look up Meadowvale and Rudolph or Untold Tales and Rudolph. I think that'll be pretty easy. Honestly, my website is the best place to start, and that'll filter to all the other areas.
The websites are good to start with. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Maddie, thank you for having me. It was a delight. I really appreciated your questions and your enthusiasm and your kindness. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Hey guys, me again. Thank you for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed the book chat and everything we talked about. If you'd like to check out some of my work, you can find the link to my website below, or you can reach out to me through my website to be on the show yourself. Also, don't forget to check out the featured creatives' work. I super appreciate them taking time out of their day to be on the show. And also, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. We've got many new things coming in the future. So once again, thanks for watching. See you soon.